Yeah, it's like that. All right, as always, let me start this off the right way.
What's up?
First and foremost, if you're here, I appreciate you. Thanks for clicking on the video and hanging out with your boy for a little bit. So, real quick, a few weeks ago, I had an idea for some content here on my channel where I would basically open up Netflix, see what was trending at #1, and just start watching whatever it was. So today, with much joy and excitement, I'm going to be reviewing the Netflix original CLICKBAIT. The story of CLICKBAIT follows the family of a man named Nick Brewer, played by Adrian Grenier. I've seen this guy in some other shows and films, but I can't remember exactly what they were. Anyway, Nick gets abducted, and a live video pops up on the internet showing old Nick beaten and bruised, holding up written signs indicating that he has done some pretty horrible things. Not only that, he also informs the people watching via prompt that if this video reaches a certain amount of views, Nick will be killed. Now here's where things get interesting. And if you plan on checking out this mini series at some point in time, you may want to stop the video, come back later, because I'm going to spoil some stuff. So yeah, you've been warned. And look, I really don't want to go straight into this review chopping heads off, but man, it's kind of hard not to. So let me start off on a positive note. The initial concept of this show based off the first episode is kind of interesting. I mean, an abduction, accusations, a race against the clock kind of situation, family members with some dark secrets. All of these things have the potential to move a story along and keep viewers engaged and interested to find out more. But CLICKBAIT decides to say to hell with all that and goes for a completely different approach. And not different in a good way. This seems to be a situation where some creators had an idea for like a small budget Netflix film, and some writers sat down and said, you know, this all sounds really cool, but you know what would be really, really cool? Is if we expanded this into, I don't know, like a miniseries? Exactly. So let's focus on Nick's family first, and then introduce some new and random characters that really have no reason to be there, except for the fact that we need to stretch this into, I don't know, maybe 8 episodes? That's perfect. And then during the last couple of episodes, we'll do the whole whodunit reveal on some characters that we completely abandoned throughout the show and quickly wrap up the reasons as to why they did it. I like it. I love it. And the creator was like, okay, somebody call Netflix. I don't know, man. I really didn't expect this to be great, but I didn't expect it to be this poorly executed either. Character development is basically non-existent, or it's forced down your throat. Like, there are times where they toss in random information and backstories on a character in hopes that we'll just hone in on one specific person and say, oh yeah, it was definitely them. Clearly they're up to no good. When in reality, at least for me, you can clearly see through the BS as far as whomever wrote this show. The whole wool over your eyes situation has been done to death and so much better in so many different TV shows and films. Now, did I immediately know who was involved as far as Nick's abduction? No. Did I immediately know if Nick was innocent or guilty of these alleged crimes? No. But there's only so much you can do skillfully within 8 episodes with such a large amount of possibilities and characters, and still manage to give your audience that oh wow factor once you reveal everything. Plus, these characters are absolutely boring. We've got low budget Jessica Jones here, played by Zoe Kazan, who in the show plays Nick's sister Pia. What a name. But prior to Nick's abduction, they have an argument that leads us to believe there are some deep-rooted issues between them both, which is one of the many possible motive ideas they throw at us in the show, then immediately abandon it to make room for another pointless idea. Anyway, then we have Nick's wife, Sophie Brewer, played by Betty Gabrielle, who some of you may recognize from the film Get Out. Yeah, that's her. She was a no lady. She's been in a lot of different films and is actually a really great actress. And if I had to say anything positive about this show, it's her performance. She does a pretty decent job of portraying a wife and mother of 2 kids, who I'll talk about in a second here, who's pretty much trying to hold it all together and get to the bottom of things herself. Now, her children are played by Cameron Angles, or Engels, whatever. He's Ethan Brewer. And Jalen Fletcher, who is Kai Brewer. Now look, I'm not crazy about talking reckless when it comes to child actors, but good grief. And once again, I'm spoiling this show. So Nick dies, all right? He gets killed. Like, the cops find his body in the woods. He's pale, his eyes are open, he looks gross. Anyway, his family gets the bad news, and of course the kids are upset. But in the very same episode, the younger son Kai is on the couch like watching YouTube videos, and his older brother comes in after being retrieved by his mother for reasons that don't matter. And Kai turns around, looks at his brother, and says, "Haha, you're so dead." What? Look, I get that everybody has a different grieving process, but dear clickbait writers, come on. Really? And it wasn't like Nick was some deadbeat dad and he abused his wife and kids. They loved him, or so I assumed until that scene came up. Seriously, if I was a cop and I decided to check in on the family to see how they were doing after finding out their father was found dead in the woods, especially after being all over the internet and news, case closed. Kai did it. Dad said no to TV for a month and he retaliated. There you go, Netflix. I just made your show infinitely better. Jokes aside, their performances aren't horrible, but they're not good either. As far as the rest of the family, there are Nick's mother-in-laws. One bakes, the other one's there for like moral support. Whatever. They don't really do much to move the story along in any way, so I'm not really gonna delve into them. Let's talk about the music choices here. Oh my gosh. I'm all for the use of licensed music in TV shows and films, but in the curious case of CLICKBAIT, they somehow managed to do a poor job in this department as well. Nothing fits here. It's either completely inappropriate for a scene or it oversells it. Either way, it completely ruins any shred of emotion or interest you're supposed to have during any major scene. So enough about the music. Let's talk about the last few episodes. Here we get our big reveals. We find out that Nick is indeed innocent of his alleged crimes. I failed to mention this throughout my rant, but somebody was pretending to be Nick via a dating app, which is the reason he got involved in all this nonsense in the first place. Anyway, we also find out why Nick was killed. And yes, I have my issues with the execution of all this as well, for a few reasons. The main perpetrator in getting Nick into all this trouble, accusations, and his untimely demise had no motive as to why, except that they were simply bored. They didn't hate Nick. No one put them up to or forced them into pretending to be him. Nothing. They simply wanted to pretend to be somebody else. Not only that, this perpetrator isn't interesting at all. Not in the slightest. So much or little, in fact, that I didn't even bother bringing them up when I was naming the cast members. And if you're somebody who already watched this show and enjoyed it, good for you. But check it out. This is not creative or clever writing. It's lazy. So in a nutshell, CLICKBAIT pretty much lives up to its title. It tries to convince us it's something it's not, with an unpolished plot, uninteresting characters, and an uneventful reveal and ending that you will soon forget. So yeah, I'm giving this my official stay away stamp. This could have been somewhat interesting if the creators chose to keep the cast a bit smaller, maybe, and maybe chose to focus on some real character development. But you can turn on Netflix right now and find 100 different shows that do this 100 times better. Anyway, that's my rant, but as always, I appreciate you being here. You rock. And if you liked the video, feel free to like, share, and sub.